and my response is titled, If I Had a Time Machine. If I had a time machine, I would visit my father. Set the year back to 1976 and touch down to a small town called Inglewood, where the barbershop was a playground and the block was a battlefield, where a hot comb was your worst enemy, but your mom's best friend, setting you and your hair straight, where your mom's coworker's friend of a friend was simply just an auntie to you. And the clothes on your back were hardly ever yours. Instead, the threads were passed through calloused hands and fragile fingers to manifest into a cloth of living history. Where love was shown through mac and cheese and collard greens, and who knew love could ever taste so sweet. If I had a time machine, I would sit across from my teenage father at the breakfast table. I would sit across from him, a stranger, but he would never be a stranger to me. See, he wouldn't notice a slight dimple on my left cheek that mimics the one on his right, or the fact that I apologize before every sentence, just as he used to do. I would sit across from him in silence, just for a minute, to try and memorize the face of a boy, soon to be man, who wouldn't make it past 42. I would come to him a prophet, whose wisdom transcended barriers of space and time, to try and warn him of a future riddled with temptation and promise. One accompanied with a wife and 2 children of his own, in a house that he'd make into a home. I would tell him not to fall into this trap. I would remind him that the most beautiful promises have the ugliest consequences, and that in this instance, death was the price to pay for a life half lived. I would tell him to never enroll in Miss 10th grade chemistry class. I would tell him to never sit in the second row next to the outspoken, loudmouth Creole girl who would never take no for an answer. I would tell him to not mistake her kindness for kinship. I would tell him to never follow her through high school or after. I would tell him to never build this beautiful family, only to tear it from the inside out. I would tell him to never leave the house. What else could you possibly need? I would tell him to spare me a life of what if, and I'm sorry if I seem angry, but damn it, Dad, I am, because every time I look in the mirror, I see the slight dimple on my left cheek that mimics the one on your right. And every time I step foot into the kitchen, I see the outspoken, loudmouth Creole woman who still will not take no for an answer. So you see, I have thought through every what if, because I still can't seem to grasp what is. So I sit at the breakfast table alone. Don't worry, I never sit in your seat. I'm still saving it for you. I know the view of the lilies was your favorite. And I sit pondering the question, if I had a time machine, would you do it all again?